I was reborn on the very day my sister and I had to choose our husbands. Across the dining table sat two men of similar age. One was Alexander Blackwood, the eldest son of the Blackwood family. He was cold, distant, and hard to read. The other was Julian Blackwood, the youngest son of the Blackwood family. He was gentle on the surface, though he was an illegitimate son.
This time, I'm going to grab the good husband before she does.
A woman's voice suddenly rang in my ears. It was my sister's voice. I looked at her, but she had not said a word. Her eyes were fixed straight on Julian Blackwood.
I'm taking you first. Only then did I realize that I had not only been reborn, but I could also hear people's thoughts. And judging from those two thoughts of hers, my sister had been reborn too. Otherwise, she would never have thought something like that.
Sure enough, in the next second, she walked over and sat down beside Julian Blackwood, looking at him shyly.
Hello, I'm Sophia Reed. I like you.
Emma Reed, since your sister has already chosen Julian Blackwood, you'll marry Alexander Blackwood.
The moment he said that, triumph filled my sister's eyes. In her mind, she said,
In this life, you can take the beating from me.
In my last life, my sister married Alexander Blackwood. Alexander Blackwood was extremely capable in business. He spent every day buried in work, and people said he was emotionally cold. My sister went to him again and again, but every time, she was thrown out of his room bruised and battered.
In the end, because she never got pregnant, Lady Eleanor Blackwood decided there was something wrong with her body and threw her out of the Blackwood family. As for me, I married Julian Blackwood. He had little power in the Blackwood family, but at least he gave me enough to live on. He stayed with me every day, took me shopping, took me out to eat, took me on dates, and spoiled me to the point that everyone envied me. Everyone in the Blackwood family knew we had a wonderful relationship. Later, Alexander Blackwood suddenly died from poisoning, and Julian Blackwood inherited the family company. My status in the Blackwood family shot up overnight. My sister was so jealous that when I went out shopping, she drove into me and died with me.
All right, Dad. I happen to quite like Alexander Blackwood, too.
I smiled and answered, then walked over and sat beside Alexander Blackwood. I had to admit, this man had an incredibly powerful presence. The second I sat beside him, it felt as if a cold wind wrapped around me, making me too nervous to speak.
No wonder my sister had been beaten so badly. I tried to listen to his thoughts, but there was nothing inside his mind.
However, when Julian Blackwood smiled at my sister, I heard one thought from him.
What a pretty little pet.
A chill ran through my whole body. Without thinking, I grabbed Alexander Blackwood's hand. Although he seemed cold, his hand was surprisingly warm. Because of my movement, he glanced at me. I quickly let go of his hand. Only then did he remain silent. Yes, this man looked terrifying, but compared with Julian Blackwood, that poisonous snake, I would rather stay by Alexander's side. In this life, I must change my miserable fate. I will make money. I will be independent. I will rely on no one. My sister and I held our weddings together. It had been the same in my previous life. Back then, Alexander Blackwood did not attend the wedding that day, while Julian Blackwood arrived early in the morning. Everyone said Julian was the more considerate husband. Sure enough, this life was exactly the same. Julian Blackwood wore a white suit and hurried over to carry my sister away. When they passed me, my sister looked at me smugly.
Dear sister, why hasn't Alexander come to pick you up?
I only smiled.
No need to worry about me. You should look after yourself.
My words choked her. Her face darkened.
Laugh while you can. Let's see if you can still laugh once he starts beating you.
After saying that in her mind, she went downstairs with Julian Blackwood. But it was far too early to say such things. Who would have the last laugh was still uncertain. Alexander Blackwood did not come to the wedding. Just like my sister in the previous life, I had to endure plenty of gossip and strange looks at the ceremony. My sister became even happier. She could not wait to say to Julian Blackwood,
I love you, Julian.
Then she kissed him on the lips.
I knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted to see me humiliated, but I was not stupid. I would not storm out in anger like she had done in the last life. Doing that would only give the Gasts and the Blackwood family something to criticize.
I remembered that, back then, everyone had said my sister was unstable and unworthy of being the eldest daughter-in-law of the Blackwood family. Because of that, after the wedding, Lady Eleanor Blackwood never treated her kindly and made her life, in the Blackwood family, miserable.
Alexander has an extremely important business meeting today. Later, when it is time to toast the guests, I'll do it on his behalf. I hope you'll all forgive us.
As soon as I said that, the gossip from below stopped. Lady Eleanor Blackwood, who was seated in the main position, looked at me with new appreciation. The Blackwood family was rich and powerful. What they cared about most was dignity and public opinion. At a time like this, as their daughter-in-law, I could not panic. I had to show the bearing of the lady of the house. My sister noticed Lady Eleanor Blackwood's gaze as well. A flash of anger crossed her eyes.
Bloody disgusting. During the tea ceremony, I'll make sure you embarrass yourself.
Honestly, I thought being able to hear thoughts was a wonderful thing. It was like having an extra trump card. Everything became much easier. When it was time for the tea ceremony, I calmly lifted my dress and walked towards Lady Eleanor Blackwood.
1, 2, 3.
In the next second, I turned sideways and reached for the tea. My sister, however, fell heavily to the floor. The tea splashed all over her. Julian Blackwood rushed over to help her up.
Are you all right? What a stupid woman.
So clumsy. Is this how the second daughter-in-law of the Blackwood family behaves?
I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to.
My sister apologized in a hurry, but her eyes were full of resentment. If I were her, I would behave myself in this life and live quietly. But since she did not want me to have an easy life, I would not swallow my anger either. Because my sister made a fool of herself, the wedding ended in a rush. From beginning to end, Lady Eleanor Blackwood did not give her a kind look. But when Lady Eleanor looked at me, her eyes were full of approval. She even held my hand and said,
Emma Reed, tonight I'll make sure Alexander Blackwell comes back to keep you company. He owes you that much.
Sure enough, that night, Alexander Blackwood really came back. He opened the door and began loosening his tie, his face full of exhaustion. I hurried over to take his...
Alexander, you must be tired today.
He merely looked at me and said nothing.
In my previous life, I had heard from the servants that Alexander did not come back on the wedding night. My sister spent the night alone in the bridal room and became a laughingstock. She went to complain to Lady Eleanor Blackwood, but instead, she was scolded for being incapable and able to keep a man's heart.
While Alexander Blackwood was showering, I made the bed and brewed tea for him. Then I tidied the sofa and prepared to sleep there alone. When Alexander Blackwood came out and saw the scene, surprise flashed in his eyes.
You can sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the sofa.
Emma Reed, are you playing hard to get?
He narrowed his eyes slightly and stared at me. He was wearing a bathrobe. His chest was faintly exposed, with a few drops of water still clinging to his skin. I had to admit, his body was impressive. I quickly looked away. No. We had no feelings for each other before this. Sleeping together would be awkward for both of us.
If possible, I'd like to work with you.
What do you mean?
After all, this is only a business marriage. Many couples like us live separate lives in private and just keep up appearances in public. I married you only because I wanted a comfortable life. I'm not asking for love.
After hearing me, he suddenly smiled.
You're clever. Good. I was thinking the same thing. I can agree to that.
I was only an ordinary person. I did not have the ability or confidence to control a man's heart. In the Blackwood family, his attitude for me would determine in Lady Eleanor Blackwood's attitude towards me. I did not want to end up like my sister in the previous life, targeted by everyone. That would do me no good at all. Besides, in the last life he had been violent towards my sister. I did not want to provoke him and end up being hurt too. So I chose to coexist peacefully with him. In this life, all I wanted was to get money, start my own company, and rise by relying on myself.
I asked Alexander Blackwood to post a photo of us holding hands, fingers intertwined, on his social feed. The caption was, "Happy Wedding Day." My reason was simple. I wanted everyone to believe there was nothing wrong with our marriage. Apart from that, I also discovered that his social feed was completely empty. Other than that post, he had never posted anything else.
A man like him must have a boring life. When it was time to sleep, he really did sleep on the bed and left me alone gentlemanly. Still, I should be grateful.
Early the next morning, I was woken by Alexander Blackwood. At dawn, he was listening to music while doing push-ups. People said cold, emotionally distant men were usually weak. But his 8-pack abs and powerful legs looked full of strength. His physique was far better than Julian Blackwood's. Stop staring. I'm not interested in you. He suddenly spoke, and got up from the floor. Get dressed. Come with me for breakfast. The implication was obvious.
If we went to breakfast together, everyone would think our relationship was good. Honestly, I felt he was quite easy to get along with. So why did he hurt my sister in the previous life? After getting ready, I left the room with Alexander Blackwood. As soon as we stepped out, I saw my sister and Julian Blackwood walking over hand in hand. My sister was wearing a strapless dress.
There were marks on her collarbone and shoulders, and she deliberately leaned closer so I could see them. Her face was full of pride. She looked me over from head to toe.
She's covered up so tightly. She must have been beaten and is hiding the bruises. She said that in her heart, then smiled smugly. Dear sister, how was your wedding night? Today, I was wearing a proper long-sleeved dress. My sister seemed to have forgotten that Lady Eleanor Blackwood hated vulgar clothing appearing in the Blackwood family. She also waited heavy makeup, but I had no intention of reminding her. I merely smiled. Sophia, according to Blackwood family hierarchy, you should call me sister-in-law, not little sister.
Her face instantly turned ugly. She gritted her teeth, unconvinced.
Alexander Blackwell himself has never asked me to call you that. Who are you to demand it?
Then she looked at Alexander Blackwood.
Alexander Blackwood, say something.
I could feel the aura beside me growing colder bit by bit.
Bloody idiot. I'll deal with you tonight.
Then he tugged on my sister's hand, signaling for her to stop talking. But she had no idea how serious the situation was.
Julian Blackwood, what is the first rule of the Blackwood family?
Alexander Blackwood spoke lightly. Julian Blackwood immediately lowered his head.
I'm sorry, brother. I'll discipline her at once.
The next second, there was a sharp slap. He struck my sister across the face.
Hurry up and greet brother and sister-in-law properly.
My sister's face turned red from the slap. She was so angry she looked ready to explode. But she knew Alexander Blackfern was not someone to offend. Good morning, brother. Good morning, sister-in-law.
She could only say unwillingly. After that, Julian Blackwood dragged her away. I remembered the first rule of the Blackwood family. No one was allowed to disrespect the heir or the heir's wife. No one could address them by their full name. Anyone who broke the rule would receive 30 lashes. And Alexander Blackwood was the heir of the Blackwood family.
In the previous life, in order to survive, I had memorized every family rule. Bacter, my sister, married Alexander Blackwood. She bullied me constantly. As I remembered that rule, I never dared to disrespect her. I thought my sister knew the rules too. I did not expect that she had not memorized them at all. So she thought that, in this life, she could still bully me.
By the time we reached the dining room, my sister had already received her punishment. Her face was pale, and she kept her head lowered, not daring to cause trouble for the moment. I caught sight of Julian Blackwood under the table, repeatedly pricking her hand with a needle.
Bitch, this is all your fault. You made me lose face.
He cursed in his heart, and the force in his hand gradually increased. In my previous life, not long after I married him, he began abusing me. He also forbade me from telling anyone. I wanted to escape, but I could not. So I suffered a great deal. That was why I would rather stay with Alexander Blackwood than with him. Sophia, this life, you chose your own husband. You cannot blame me. Lady Eleanor Blackwood arrived. We all stood up and greeted her. She leaned on her cane. Just as she was about to tell us to sit, her eyes landed on my sister. My sister had not changed her clothes. She was still wearing that strapless dress. When she noticed the old lady's gaze, she immediately forced a bashful smile.
Mum, it was all Julian's doing. He said he wanted me to have a baby.
The moment she said that, Lady Eleanor Blackwood flew into a rage and struck her across the back with a cane.
Shameless. What happens between husband and wife in private is your own business. You do not speak of it outside, and you certainly do not dress so indecently in this house. Disgraceful.
In my previous life, a servant had once worn a pair of shorts and was dismissed by Lady Eleanor Blackwood on the spot.
After that, I had always been extremely careful. It was precisely because I had lived so cautiously that I barely survived in the Blackwood family. That was why my sister thought my good life had come from following a good man. But her thinking was wrong from the start. Why should a good life always depend on someone else?
Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
My sister was in so much pain from the blow that sweat formed on her forehead. Julian Blackwood hurried to explain.
Mum, it's my fault. I forgot to remind her.
On the surface, he said that.
But in his heart, he was delighted. Serves you right. Watching you get hit feels brilliant. Honestly, what a twisted man. After all, she was still a new daughter-in-law. Lady Eleanor Blackwood did not continue the lecture. She sat down and let everyone eat. Alexander Blackwood did not say much throughout the meal. While we ate, he even placed food on my plate. I could feel my sister's furious gaze. She looked as if she wanted to tear me apart. I smiled even more happily. Thank you, darling. Lady Eleanor Blackwood smiled at me with satisfaction.
Emma Reed, after breakfast, go to the company with Alexander Blackwood and learn a few things. As the eldest daughter-in-law of the Blackwood family, you should understand the business.
I knew Lady Eleanor Blackwood would say that.
In the previous life at this same breakfast table, she had said same thing to my sister.
But my sister had replied, I don't want to learn. I'll rely on Alexander for the rest of my life. She had pushed away such a good opportunity with her own hands. That was why, when she was thrown out, she had nothing. Alexander Blackwood took me to the company.
In the car, I kept trying to hear his thoughts.
But there was still nothing. That made sense. A man like him would not be tied down by anything. Nothing would trouble him. When we arrived at the company, Alexander Blackwood took me to his office. Wait here. He left after dropping that sentence. Through the glass door, I saw him hurry into the meeting room. I followed. Inside the meeting room, I saw him speaking with a British consultant, Jack Hartley. They were discussing the sale of a formula Jack had developed.
Good thing I looked into this before coming. The Blackwood family is loaded. This formula is only worth a few €100. But this time, I'm going to squeeze them hard.
I heard Jack Hartley's thoughts. I looked at him in surprise. His face was perfectly calm, giving no hint of the greedy scheme in his mind. He quoted a sky-high price of
$3 million.
Alexander Blackwood hesitated and did not answer immediately.
Mr. Blackwood, this product can absolutely bring you value far beyond $3 million.
Just as Alexander Blackwood was about to agree, I pushed the door open and walked in.
Good morning, Mr. Hartley.
Then I picked up the bottle of skincare serum he had developed and examined it.
I'm a woman, so I understand skincare better. This contains only brightening ingredients. It does nothing for wrinkles and nothing for early aging. And you're an engineer, so you know better than anyone that brightening claims are mostly marketing. The effect is minimal. So I'd like to ask you, what makes this formula worth $3 million?
Jack Hartley froze. Alexander Blackwood watched me with interest and did not interrupt.
I knew that meant he was allowing me to speak to Jack like this. So I became bolder.
However, this is a foreign product, and you've promoted it on social media. Young consumers are already familiar with it and trust it to some extent.
So, I can offer you this.
$1 million?
The man asked in surprise.
Jack Hartley, $1 million is already a very decent offer.
Alexander Blackwood said. Jack Hartley stood up in shock. He said,
How can you make an offer like that? How am I supposed to do business? Fine, I won't cooperate. It isn't as if I must sell to you.
With that, he turned to leave.
Jack Hartley, I'll give you $1 million. Sign the contract immediately. Then I need you to apologize to my wife.
Hearing that, Jack Hartley immediately turned back. Joy appeared in his eyes. I did not understand Alexander Blackwood's decision and hurried to stop him. But he shook his head at me, signaling for me not to speak.
Mr. Blackwood, you really do know how to do business.
Then he turned to me and apologized.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Mrs. Blackwood.
Alexander Blackwood took him away to sign the contract. Once the contract was signed, I asked Alexander in confusion.
That thing is only worth a few hundred. Why did you pay $1 million?
Alexander Blackwood poured a cup of coffee and said calmly,
You have a good head for business, but you still don't understand the market. Jack Hartley's formula itself isn't worth much. I knew that long ago. What I wanted was the brand he created. The brand awareness isn't very high yet, but young women already know about. With a bit more promotion, I can make that $1 million back.
But I'm curious. How did you know it was only worth a few hundred?
Alexander Blackwood stared at me closely.
I guessed.
He did not ask further. I took the chance to ask him to let...
I want to run one of the branch companies. In my previous life, Julian Blackwood have no family status to cannot give me any there. I had always wanted to do business and become my own boss. That's why I would have to beg anyone. Even I made enough money, I could leave.
Fine.
But only after you've learned enough from me. For the next few days, I followed Alexander Blackwood to the company to learn. I learned a lot about business, negotiations, and how to deal with people. One day, he actually took the initiative to bring me out for dinner. To my surprise, we ran into my sister and Julian Blackwood there. My sister had been cutting steak for him. When she saw me and Alexander Blackwood, she quickly put down her knife and fork, and looked at me in shock.
Dear sister, you're here too?
Realizing she had addressed me wrongly, she quickly corrected herself. Brother, sister-in-law, the next second, her thoughts came through. Bloody hell. Of all times, I had to run into her now. I can't lose face.
Yes. Alexander and I came here for dinner.
I took the initiative to hook my arm around Alexander Blackwood's. He did not refuse. Julian Blackwood also hurried forward to greet us.
Brother, sister-in-law.
Alexander Blackwood ignored them and simply led me to our seats. I saw my sister behind us, so angry she nearly ground her teeth to pieces. She must have been wondering why Alexander Blackwood had not hurt me, and why he had even brought me out for dinner. When I went to the restroom, she was waiting outside. The moment she saw me, she looked as if she wanted to swallow me alive.
You must be getting beaten terribly by Alexander Blackthorne in private.
Stop pretending. You make me sick. Hearing her, I smiled lightly. I pretended to notice the needle marks on her arm by accident.
Oh, Sophia, what happened to you? Why are there so many needle marks?
Panic flashed in her eyes. She quickly covered her arm and glared at me.
What has that got to do with you? It's between me and Julian. But of course you wouldn't understand.
Alexander Blackwood probably hasn't even touched you yet, has he?
Julian is different. He wants me all night long. I'm exhausted. How ridiculous. She was clearly not doing well, yet she still insisted on putting on an act.
I really wanted to know how long she could keep being stubborn.
That's lovely. I wish you and him more and more happiness.
After saying that, I tried to leave, but she grabbed my hair.
You bitch! Are you mocking me?
I frowned. She was still the same madwoman she had been in the previous life. I struggled and told her to let go.
Let go of me.
At that moment, Alexander Blackwood suddenly came in and kicked her away.
Do you know the punishment for disrespecting your sister-in-law?
Alexander Blackwood held my hand and looked down at her from above. I remembered. The punishment was being locked in the dungeon. My sister had once found a way to send me in there. That place was full of rats, cockroaches, and snakes. So she knew exactly what her punishment would be. My sister turned deathly pale with fear.
Brother, I didn't mean it. Please don't do this to me.
But Alexander Blackwood was not someone who softened his heart. Once he decided something, no one could change it. He ordered Julian Blackwood to take my sister away. In his mind, Julian Blackwood cursed wildly.
Better if she dies in there. All she does is cause trouble every day.
Alexander Blackwood took me back to the bedroom and checked my head.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. She only pulled my hair.
I pushed him away and tidied my clothes and hair myself.
But why did you suddenly come to the restroom?
I looked into Alexander Blackwood's dark, ink-black eyes.
You were gone too long. I'd like to ask you the same thing. Why did you get into another conflict with her?
I thought for a moment. I could not tell him it was because my sister had also been reborn.
Sophia said she and Julian Blackwood are intimate every day and very happy, unlike you, who never touches me. That's why we argued.
So you're hinting at me?
I immediately realized that my words had caused a misunderstanding.
Emma Reed.
I waved my hands quickly.
No. That's not what I meant. I was only telling you why we argued.
Emma Reed, have you ever thought about doing that with me?
Of course not.
I answered at once.
I told you. I only wanted to rely on you for a comfortable life.
That's all?
I nodded heavily. He said nothing more. He suddenly slammed the door and left. I did not know which sentence of mine had made him unhappy. Nor did I want to know. I only wanted to accomplish what I had set out to do. The next day, Alexander Blackwood did not take me to the company. He told me to go to the branch company myself. So I began focusing on running the branch. Every day, I chased projects, negotiated deals, and brought the company a great deal of profit.
I planned to stop once I had earned 10 million.
Lady Eleanor Blackwood told me I could take my own share from the earnings. Just as I was making money happily, my sister came out of the dungeon. That day, I had just returned home from work. She had lost a lot of weight. She held Julian Blackwood's arm and walked towards me step by step. Sister-in-law, I've already asked Mom for permission.
I'll follow
you and learn company business so I can help ease your workload. Julian Blackwood's thoughts sounded.
Soon, I'll make you and Alexander Blackwood die together.
I suddenly remembered that in the previous life, Alexander Blackwood had died suddenly. So it had been Julian, and in this life, he not only wanted to kill Alexander Blackwood, He also wanted to kill me. I worked hard to control my emotions and looked at my sister.
All right. Come tomorrow. I said that deliberately. I wanted to know what she was plotting.
The next second, her thoughts appeared.
What a fool. Just wait. Soon I'll get rid of all of you and live freely on my own. So after a few days in the dungeon, she had become more clear-headed, but she did not know that I could hear people's thoughts. In the previous life, Alexander Blackwell died from poisoning.
I suddenly remembered that, back then, in the basement under Julian Blackwood's room, I had seen a cabinet full of colorful chemical bottles. At the time, he often used those chemicals to experiment on me. Sometimes I fainted. Sometimes I became strangely overexcited. Thinking back now, those must have been chemicals for making poison. I took my sister to the company and had her start as an intern. Now, she had learned to hide her emotions. Whatever I said and whatever I asked her to do, she agreed. I knew why she had become this way. She was planning a murder. Julian Blackwood wanted me and Alexander Blackwood dead. And she wanted me, Alexander Blackwood, and Julian Blackwood dead. But the fact that she wanted to kill Julian Blackwood was something I could use. Soon, I took action. Behind Alexander Blackwood's back, I went to see Julian Blackwood. I knew Julian Blackwood very well. He liked obedient women. That was why I had managed to stay by his side for so long in my previous life. I deliberately dressed more revealingly and looked at him.
Julian Blackwood, I like you.
He immediately became interested.
Sister-in-law, aren't you afraid my brother will kill you?
I've always wanted to be with you. And I also want to tell you something. My sister is going to poison you. Yesterday at the company, I heard her talking to a man with my own ears.
Is that true?
Of course it's true. She said you've been hitting her, so she wants to get rid of you.
Anger spread across Julian Blackwood's face.
She said she wants to rise to the top. Fortunately, I had memories from the previous life that allowed me to manipulate them completely.
Sister-in-law, wait for me. Once I get rid of Alexander Blackwood and her, you'll be my lady. I'll take care of you.
After saying that, he left. Did he really think I was stupid? I would never follow him. I immediately went to find Alexander Blackwood. Although his life and death did not have much to do with me, in this life, he had helped me. He had allowed me to earn money. He had also carefully shared business experience with me. In the office, he looked surprised after hearing what I said.
What proof do you have that Julian Blackwood wants to harm me?
I took out the recorder and played the conversation I had just had with Julian Blackwood.
I'm going to make you disappear, Alexander.
The first part was me deliberately seducing him. Even I found it nauseating to hear. I hurried to explain.
I was only pretending so I could gain his trust.
Alexander Blackwood did not answer. But his face darkened a little. I closed my mouth awkwardly. The next second, he pulled me into his arms. A scent of pine rushed over me. I heard his heart beating hard. Thump. Thump. I froze completely, not knowing what to do.
Emma Reed, I suggest you don't even think about betraying me. As long as you are still my wife, you should be loyal to me.
This silly man. How had he focused on that?
Forget that for now. The point is, your brother is trying to kill you. What are you going to do?
Then we'll see whether he has the ability. If he fails to kill me, he'll be the one who dies.
Alexander Blackwood did not seem to take the matter seriously. That evening, he even took me to a banquet. He said it would help the branch company develop and allow me to meet more clients. As I walked in with him, I could feel many eyes scanning me.
Men are all vile. I shouldn't have brought her here.
I looked at the side of his face in shock. His expression was completely calm. Yet inside, he had actually said something like that. And what did he mean by it? He noticed my gaze and lowered his head to look at me.
What is it?
After saying that, he thought again. So silly. I was even more shocked. The cold, domineering CEO in my memory could actually think things like that. I tried hard to control my emotions and shook my head. Nothing. After the banquet ended, Alexander Blackwood took me home. Julian Blackwood and my sister were waiting for us in the living room. My sister took the initiative to invite us to dinner.
Brother, sister-in-law, Sophia Reed and I bought some lovely dishes today. Join us for dinner.
Damn it. Could their intentions be any more obvious? I truly wanted to know how Alexander Blackwood had died from such a clumsy trick in the previous life. Looking at the table full of delicious food, I did not dare take even one bite. Under the table, I held Alexander Blackwood's hand, signaling for him not to eat either. But the next second, he picked up some food and ate it. He moved too quickly for me to stop him. He even said,
"It tastes good. Everyone, eat."
As soon as he said that, joy flashed in both my sisters and Julian Blackwood's eyes. I was so anxious that I kept pinching Alexander Blackwood's hand. He did not react at all.
I had clearly told him they wanted to harm him, so why would he still eat?
Just as that thought appeared, Alexander Blackwood and my sister both collapsed onto the table. Lady Eleanor Blackwood came out as well. She said angrily,
"Someone take these two beasts to the dungeon. They are never to come out again."
Emma Reed, I'm not as stupid as you think. I told my mother long ago to install cameras throughout the house. When we saw Joe Julian Blackwood poisoning the wine, we had the poisoned wine removed and replaced their 2 glasses with a sedative.
Then his voice suddenly lowered.
But you seemed very afraid that I would die. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with me.
Is that so?
After my sister and Julian Blackwood were locked in the dungeon, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The 2 people I feared most had finally been dealt with. Now that I had earned enough money, the next step was to ask Alexander Blackwood for a divorce. I kept looking for the right opportunity. But during this period, Alexander Blackwood was always busy and rarely came home. All I could do was wait. One day, I heard from the servants that Julian Blackwood and my sister had been asking to see me. I went to see my sister first. Her hair was a mess.
How did you know I wanted to kill you?
She looked worn down, and her eyes were full of resentment.
How did you know?
She suddenly realized something.
You came back too, didn't you?
Sophia, you've only just realized?
Hearing that, she was so angry that she rushed to the bars and grabbed them, looking as if she wanted to kill me.
You bitch! You hid it well! You knew all along that Julian Black was twisted, didn't you? So you watched me jump into the abyss. Emma Reed, how can you be so cruel?
The cruel one isn't me. It's you.
You chose Julian Blackwood yourself. You also chose Alexander Blackwood yourself. No matter which one you choose, you are never satisfied. So you blame everything on me, yet you never look at the problem in yourself.
You want to rely on men. I only want to rely on myself. That is the difference between us.
But why? Why can you be fine no matter who you're with?
You see me doing well, but behind the scenes, I have been working hard to save myself. So everything I have is what I deserve. You, on the other hand, have done nothing. You only keep waiting for someone else to save you. That's why you deserve to end up like this.
I threw down those words and left. Behind me, my sister screamed in resentment.
Just you wait! Next time I will lose to you!
I then went to Julian Blackwood's cell. He was carefully folding a blanket. He still had the same compulsive habits as before. When he saw me, he laughed.
Emma Reed, you're clever. Very good at hiding yourself. Do you know? I really believed you wanted to be with me. I had already prepared to kill Sophia Reed and Alexander Blackwood. But you gave me such a surprise.
You deserved it. Who told you to be so vicious?
I glared at him fiercely. His face gradually overlapped with the face from my previous life, when he had tortured me again and again. The fire of anger in my chest burned even more fiercely.
If I weren't locked in here, I'd pin you beneath me and inject you with something that would make you feel like you were floating.
Even after leaving the dungeon, I was still gasping for breath, but thankfully, in this life, I had finally escaped him. That evening, Alexander Blackwood came back. He was drunk. The moment he entered the room, he fell towards me, and we both crashed to the floor.
Alexander Blackwood, think carefully about what you're doing. We're only in a partnership. You are not allowed to touch me.
As soon as I said that, the whole room went silent. Alexander Blackwood's face darkened.
I knew you wanted to leave me. Emma Reed, you're a wicked woman. Have you forgotten me already?
What do you mean?
All these years I've been looking for you. It wasn't until the day I could hear your thoughts that I realized you were the person I had been searching for, because yours were the only thoughts I could hear. I never told you who I was because I wanted to wait for you to come to me first. I wanted to know whether you still remembered me. Then one day, I heard your thoughts. You said that once you saved 10 million, you would leave me. These days I knew it too. That's why I kept avoiding you. I didn't want you to leave.
I never expected there to be such a coincidence in the world. He could hear people's thoughts too.
And I also realized that you could hear my thoughts. So I deliberately said those things in my mind to confirm it.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use you. I was only afraid of being abandoned again. So I thought that once I saved enough money, I would leave you.
Then do you still want to leave me now?
I shook my head. Before, I had wanted to leave him because I thought he did not love me. I thought staying with him would never bring happiness, so I might as well rely on myself. But now, I knew that he was Alex. And I knew he had been waiting for me all this time. So I would not leave. I also suddenly understood why, in the previous life, he had resisted my sister so strongly. He knew she was not me. That was why he never touched her. As I thought of that, I felt his warm lips kiss my cheek.
Emma Reed, stay with me for the rest of your life.
Yes, for the rest of our lives. Thank heaven for giving me the chance to be reborn. Death, I did not most I love and